والله ما انا عارف وين رايح، بس بدي اروح اقعد على الحدود بدي اطلع عشان لما يهدوا الجدار انا اول بني ادم اكون طالع اذا بدي ارحل كمان رحله غير هالرحله اللي انا فيها.
Increasing attacks, rising casualties, and what is described as a hellish scenario by the United Nations is now unfolding in Gaza. The visuals you just saw are from South Gaza. And as we speak, the Israeli military is pushing deeper into areas which were once termed as safe zones. Nearly 2 months into the war, an Israeli military offensive is getting brutal by the day, standing by their promise to eliminate Hamas and fight till the end. IDF is not backing down. Day after day, hospitals in Gaza are overwhelmed by the horror of bombs, pain, and even destruction. These are the visuals from some time ago. This is a 6-year-old girl. She's hungry and thirsty. And even though she's covered in dust and severely injured, all she wants is to see her mother and sisters.
واحد أخذني الثاني قلت له وين موديني يا عم؟ قال لي بدي أوديك على المستشفى. لما ركبوني السيارة ورحت عطوني أنا بحكي لعمو عطران رعانة كتير مش متذكرة إجري. قلت ماما فتحت الماما مش سجالة.
An area once perceived as safe is no longer like that anymore. In the latest, Israel says it has encircled the Jabalia refugee camp. IDF claims the camp was being used by Hamas militants as a base. Warnings of a looming humanitarian crisis are emerging again. Living between life and death, displaced Gazans say they have nowhere to go. Spokesperson for Gaza's health ministry says hospitals in southern Gaza have totally collapsed, while the WHO warns that the situation is getting worse by the hour.
Only a ceasefire is going to save the children of Gaza right now. So, to be clear, in the current context of the so-called safe zones, they are not scientific, they are not rational, they are not possible. And I think the authorities are aware of this. I think it's callous, I think it's cold, and I think it reinforces the indifference towards children and women in Gaza.
So who is suffering the most in this war? It is, of course, the innocent civilians who are now stranded with nowhere to go and facing a bleak future.
والله كنا نايمين وفي أمان وقالوا لنا منطقة آمنة رفح وكله 100%. هذا ما شفنا 10 وثلث إلا هو نزلوا براميل علينا دمروا المربع كله هيته وصاروا الأولاد الصغار والنساء والأطفال وشهداء. فيش منطقة آمنة يعني لا رفح ولا خان يونس ولا غزة ولا الدير كلهم كذابين هذولا. بقول لك منطقة آمنة منطقة بخلونا ننزح ونزحوا خان يونس وغزة وبضلهم يقصفوا وين في كتافة سكان بنزلوا عليهم براميل.
Around 2 civilians have been killed for every dead Hamas fighter in the Gaza Strip. A senior Israeli military official admitted on Monday and said the army was deploying high-tech mapping software to try to reduce non-combatant deaths. The map on your screens right now shows the latest extent of damage known to have taken place in the Gaza Strip since Israel began its bombardment following the October 7th Hamas attack. The map proves Israel has caused extensive damage to built-up areas in the south of Gaza River, where it initially instructed Palestinian residents to flee to in order to avoid fighting. Meanwhile, newly released footage of the October 7th Hamas attack by sea on Zikim Beach has emerged, showing the terror of Hamas. This is where a group of Israeli teens had been camping over the weekend. The teenagers were reportedly killed in that attack. While international pressure has been mounting on Israel to show restraint in targeting civilians in its second phase of the war, scores of dead people have been reported each night. The refugees in the south have nowhere to go, and there is no or less aid. How far is the IDF willing to go? And that's the question on everyone's mind today. Mohammed Najib is a journalist, war correspondent and security analyst. He is now joining us live from Ramallah. Mohammed, welcome to the show. Israel still insists that there are safe zones. Do you know about them? How do they look like? Where are they located? Could you describe them to our viewers? Because information about them is still scanty.
Yes, since the outbreak of the ground and the naval and aerial strikes against the Gaza Strip, the IDF said that the Palestinians from northern Gaza have to be displaced and leave to southern Gaza. However, right now there are 1.8 million Palestinians who are displaced from northern Gaza to southern Gaza. But while they were using the safe roads and passages that determined by the Israelis in some hours, also they have been targeted. And also when they were in the south, they were targeted. I spoke to some families and about the high number of casualties. Why? They said we were hosting the family members who were displaced from the north to the south. So when they bomb in the south, the casualties are double and triple because it contains and it hosts the people who came from the north. The Israelis think that by displacing the Palestinian people from the north to the south, they can easily find Hamas and fight Hamas alone, as they consider that Hamas using the civilians as a human shield. But it's untrue because the civilians are moving there and the fighting continues in the north without that. And also, they hope that by targeting civilians, they will form a pressure by the population of Gaza against Hamas to stop the issue and free the Israeli prisoners. And right now it didn't work as they expected. So the Palestinians think this is a kind of revenge against the innocent civilians. And today the Palestinian Minister of Health, Wael Kela, held a press conference and described the humanitarian and medical situation in Gaza as catastrophic right now.
Mohammed, you didn't quite answer my question there because I asked about the safe zones which Israeli soldiers have been telling Palestinians to move to. I wanted to know from you, do you know these so-called safe zones? Where are they located? How do they look like?
Yes, actually, it's not secret. The Israeli military forces published a map on the social media and to the Palestinians, and also circulated the leaflets from the drones in Gaza and asked the Palestinians to go to those safe zones near Khan Yunis in the center of Gaza. But all of them are southern Gaza Valley. So it's all in the south of Gaza Valley. And they want to expand the military operations, the ground incursions and military operation, as well as from the sea. So they asked the Palestinians to move from the populated areas to go to free areas. And everyone watched that on the TVs. They set up tents on the sand. They have no water. They have no electricity. They have no any kind of humanitarian aids or foods. So it's open areas. It's open areas that they want the people to go from the populated areas to open area and sit up there in the tents and waiting so the Israeli can operate in the residential area, built-in area freely and demolishing the houses and looking for Hamas people, looking for Islamic Jihad, looking for the Israeli hostages in Gaza. This is what was explained by the Israelis. But the Palestinians said that going there also is not unsafe right now, as it happened that some on their way to those safe zones were bombed by the Israelis and others need to transport their family to go there. It's not easy to move these days in Gaza. And also those areas have no electricity, no infrastructure and nothing. Even the humanitarian aids, the little humanitarian aids that arrived to Gaza, it was difficult to be circulated and reach those areas. So some dozen hundreds move there, thousands move there, but not all of the people can go and be in those safe zones because also they don't feel are protected there.
All right, I've been talking to Mohammed Najib, who's a journalist, war correspondent and security analyst. Mohammed, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.